Oh, my friends, Scioto County Daily News. Hello. We are going to talk about the school board for Northwest schools. They have an election coming up, and we are going to speak with one of those candidates. Right now, his name is Tommy Crabtree, and I'm going to check and see if he's available to join us on screen. Let's just see. Hello, Tommy.
Hey, Mark, how we doing tonight?
Buddy, I am doing very good. Thank you for agreeing to chat with us this evening. Um,
Absolutely.
and I've got several questions for you, so I hope you're ready.
Absolutely. I'm always ready.
Okay, good. And as a disclosure, Tommy and I have kind of been around the same orbit and have had interactions several times over the last several years, but we've really not gotten to actually sit down and know each other. So this is as much fun for me to get to know this fella that we've kind of bounced around over the last few years, and at the same time, it's genuine because you're going to learn at the same time I learn about Tommy. So, how's that sound?
Well, I'm excited, Mark. It sounds good to me because I'm excited to chat with you. Like you said, we've been around and about each other for the last several years. So this is finally an opportunity for us to sit down. And I'm just grateful for you to give me this opportunity because part of my
Uh,
campaign is transparency. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
it is absolutely my pleasure. So, we'll get your name up there for everybody to see, Tommy Crabtree. And I'm going to start with some questions. First, we're going to divide this, folks, into three parts. We're going to talk about background and his platform, and then a fun area that we call antics to see what's going on. Because with every political campaign, there are some antics. So we're going to get the tea on what's happening there. So we're going to start off with the background section, and I'm going to ask you the easiest and yet hardest question that a person can ask. Who is Tommy Crabtree?
Well, who is Tommy Crabtree? Okay. Well, I can answer that. I'm a lifelong community member of the Northwest District. Been here my whole life in McDermott, same area, same holler. I'm a husband. I have 5 daughters. I have three grandchildren, and I'm a multi generational Mohawk. We'll say that. I'm actually a director of operations for a senior living company. So I have 15 years of operations under my belt. Professionally, I've been doing that and building large groups of different groups of operations and companies, and making sure that we're building the staff and building teams together. And building teams is important when you're a part of a board. I've also served on a couple different boards, the Area Agency on Aging. I've also served on the Scioto County Fair Board. So volunteering has been important to me. I volunteered for the Scioto County 4-H for the past 20 years since I was a 4-H member. And once I finished 4-H, I actually served on the Market and Breeding Animal Committee. So for me, Tommy Crabtree is somebody who believes in leadership, believes in our children, wants to give back to our community, and I've been doing that as long as I've been able to do that. And I see an opportunity here with our school district, an opportunity to bring that type of leadership, an impartial leadership that takes a look at everything from a 30,000-foot view, leadership that wants to come in and show fairness to all. That's the type of person Tommy Crabtree is, and that would be a little description of Tommy Crabtree.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was very interesting. But I want to say that there's a character over your shoulder there. You and I assume your betrothed. Who did that character?
Well, somebody in Cincinnati. That's supposed to be my wife and I. And as you can see, I was much younger. So that was at an Oktoberfest many years ago. And then over my shoulder here, that's my whole family. That's my children, my grandchildren, and that was all of us when the Bengals were good several years ago. And then the hands of all my daughters right here. So this is my little office. I get to work from home. I'm blessed from that standpoint. I have a hybrid job where I travel a couple days a week, but get to work right here out of this little office. And I keep all that behind me to remind me of what I do, everything I do for my wife, my kids, and that's why I keep all that behind me.
It really helps me because we're in the final stages of doing we had to get all the technical stuff in the studio first, but we're in the final stages. And this week, while I'm gone, they're gonna do the dressings, the wall coverings and the motif and stuff if people come in and everything. And so, based on you look like you have a wall of history, a, a wall of history. So I may have to incorporate. I wasn't sure what all I was going to incorporate, but a wall of history is interesting. That's a good one. Um,
Absolutely.
you had already answered my second question. Nah, you anticipated, I suppose, it would be a question. So I'm going to skip that, and that was tell us how you serve the community. And so that's where you went through. You said something about 4-H, and something about that caught my attention was, what was it, breeding and selling, or some kind of two different.
Yeah. So there's a committee for 4-H. It's called the Market and Breeding Animal Committee, and I all through my years in 4-H, we raised market poultry, market chickens, fancy chickens, those sort of things. And I was actually lucky enough after I did that, I was able to be part of the Market and Breeding Animal Committee, and I was the poultry person on that committee. I still am in a sense. I need to be more active in that, but those years you get to decide who comes and judges, and you get to help check the chickens in at the fair and help the kids with skillathon and all of those things. Because I'll tell you, this is something that I'm really big on as well. Everything's not about maybe one particular sport. Our kids, they do a lot of things. There's a lot of activities. I was really big this year talking about that. Come out and support our kids with their FFA and 4-H projects, or come see the band perform, or those sort of things. And so the Market and Breeding Animal Committee was a way for me to give back to those kids and those organizations that helped me grow a lot as a leader. Because 4-H, it's one of these organizations that will grow leaders. It teaches you so much responsibility, no matter what project you do. And I'm very grateful for the Scioto County 4-H program.
So if somebody calls you a chicken, you do not take offense.
No, or chicken judge, or ask me chicken questions. Actually, with my job, people all the time will call me the chicken guy and ask me, hey, what came first, the chicken or the egg, or what's this egg mean, that sort of thing. And we get all sorts of kicks out of that.
Oh man, I'm telling you, the more you know, the more you know.
Yeah, just learn. Hey, this could go all sorts of directions, Mark. You'll learn more and more every day.
It's true. All right, now I've got a question that I wrote down. All right, so deciding to run for office is more of actually an emotional decision that's made by some type of need or injustice that one wants to help combat. So my question is, what was your emotional motivation for
Yeah.
running for this office of the Northwest School Board?
A lot went into it. To be honest with you, I go back to, so my daughter's a fifth grader, and I have two grandchildren that are kindergartners, and one of my grandchildren, my grandchildren, my grandson, he's actually deaf. He had bacterial meningitis several years ago, wears cochlears and needs special attention because of that. My daughter has some special needs, so we've had some interactions with the school. And for me, it's a passion to make sure all children are treated fairly and have the best opportunities to succeed. That's really, really important. That's the core of it all. So again, it goes back to that fairness piece. And without accountability and transparency, you can't have fairness. And so everything in my life revolves around my family, revolves around my children and my grandchildren, and making sure that they have opportunities. I'm sorry, something popped up on my screen here. Making sure that they have opportunities that, I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I worked really hard. I actually felt like Northwest gave me a catapult ability to do that. And I want to make sure that my children have those same opportunities and my grandchildren have those same opportunities, because they already have a few roadblocks in their way. So I want to make sure that I'm there and as involved as I can be.
So you brought up an interesting point, and so that propels me to another question. Do you believe in the term disabled?
No, I don't think anybody is disabled. I think that I honestly think that you maybe have something a little different than somebody else. You may have something that causes you to need some extra attention, or you may need, but you know what? You can prevail. It makes you become a stronger person in the end. One example: my daughter has ADHD and sensory processing disorder, and I do not like I don't like to give people, stigmas or titles or anything like that, because I want her to be able to still learn and still grow and not just be put into a box. Same thing with my grandson. The fact is, just because he's deaf, and not to go into the full story, but we almost lost him. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible time, and he's a blessing in himself. But he's going to have potentially a tough go. But we want to give him the best possible path to succeed. So I don't think that anything is a disability. I think that it's just going to make it a little tougher potentially for him if he doesn't have the right path put in front of him to succeed.
So first of all, we're looking at the Scioto County's youngest and most beautiful papaw ever.
you, you, you know, um, it's pretty funny. Again, I'll be 40 this year, and I was lucky enough to marry a woman who had three daughters, and they call me Paw Paw. Mark, it's Paw Paw
Yeah.
because Papa,
Pawpaw,
but
I'm Pap, yeah, and you're Pawpaw.
and my wife's Mimi. So now that I got the gray hair, I can pull it off a little bit better now. So it's okay. Being Paw Paw is it's great. So it's certainly and then maybe I'll be lucky enough and blessed enough to have great great grandchildren someday. So.
Well, I mean, you've already got a good start, right? You got the right age, so not only will you be able to meet them, you'll actually be able to hopefully see them grow up a little bit, and see what their little personalities are going to be, going forward. So yeah, and
Absolutely.
they told me a long time in oratory school that you really aren't going to get any real credit until you earn your stripes, and by stripes they mean gray hair, and so you have your stripes. So,
Hey, and
so
there's striping
based on
here,
my
striping
yeah,
here. Yeah.
so based on my formal education, I can assess that you are now worthy of becoming of your stripe. Now, all my stripes are actually the same color. So did I lose my stripes? Is it you just have that little window of time when you have stripes before, and then after that you're irrelevant?
Or you're just a solid stripe. You're just one stripe.
Just
That's it.
one stripe. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. So, oh, I was going to say one other thing. That means that you probably know sign language. Do you know sign language?
A little bit. We know love you, those sort of things. I've tried to pick up more and more. I'll tell you, it's really hard to learn sign language when you're older. But we when we've had Colton with us, and we were able to babysit him for 10 days this summer. He and his sister stayed with us, and one of the cutest things was that his baby sister knows it so well. And that was, kind of learning by necessity. No classes, none of that. But she was able, and it helps you pick up some different things as you go along. And I know you can't see me down here doing it, but definitely, it's interesting how their minds are sponges, right? Again, goes back to the whole why certain things are so important. But she's been able to pick up all of that and say, hey, Bubby, this and that. And, my daughter in fifth grade, she's been able to learn some things. But my wife and I, we've struggled so much. And it's interesting as you get older, how it's harder to teach an old dog new tricks, I guess, a poor way to put it. But certainly a few things, Mark, but not as much as I would like, to be honest with you.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you take a small child when they first learn how to talk, you can teach them two languages at the same time and they'll pick it up no problem. Because as a grandparent myself, that's what has happened with two of my grandsons. They can speak fluently two languages that I took 2 years in high school, got good marks, and I still can't say it. I still can't speak the language. So to go back, I don't care Rosetta Stone. I don't care Rosetta Stone. You can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm just going to wait for the app. I think it's already out there where you just say what you're going to say and then it repeats it back in whatever language, because that's that's but that's how it's just going to have to be. Tommy, are you on the ballot or are you a writing candidate?
No, I'm on the ballot. And I learned something because the ballots were just you can see the ballots now. They just they got completed last week, and different order in each precinct, right? So some precincts you'll see me at the top, some precincts you'll see me at the bottom, some in the middle. There's 7 candidates for Northwest School Board, so you'll just, depending on which precinct you're in, you just need to look for my name, Tommy Crabtree, on there, and there's 3 positions open as well. So just make sure we choose Tommy, and yeah, that's an interesting thing though, Mark. I wasn't aware that was the case until this year.
So, to make sure I heard you right, we have 7 total candidates for 3 open seats, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then in some precincts, your name will appear in different spots. Some's alphabetic order, some maybe when you
Mm-hmm.
filed your paperwork. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But you're in different spots, but you are on the ballot in all precincts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So now we're going to transfer over to the platform portion of the interview. A qualified candidate has a platform that people can attach to your name. So, Tommy Crabtree, what that sounds like a game show. It sounds like a game show I'm getting ready to say. Tommy Crabtree, what is your platform?
Well, it's on my signs, it's on my shirt, and I speak it all the time. My platform is change, accountability, and transparency. For too long at Northwest, we've been focused on things being done behind closed doors. The community, we're voted on as a school board member. We're voted on by you. We're the voice of the community, and it's time that we act that way. Meetings should be live streamed. You should be able to see what's happening in open session. Of course, there's executive session for certain things, but perception's reality. So from an accountability standpoint, you need to know what decisions are being made. Often you're seeing the minutes from the meeting not come out online until maybe a month later. So decisions that have been made, you're not even finding out about till quite a bit later. The term good old boys club has been mentioned often and often more and more. And the problem with that is, again, it becomes that perception is reality thing. So if that's not the case, then we should be able to see the meetings. And that's why I'm here. I want to open the door. We need to pull the curtain back from the Wizard of Oz. We need to make sure we're holding everybody accountable to the truth and fairness so that, again, our children, our teachers, our staff have the best opportunity to succeed in what they do. Another big piece of this accountability and conversation is nepotism. I brought this up on Facebook not too awful long ago. And the fact is that nepotism is something that we have struggled with in this district for such a long time. We struggle with the fact that often you'll see, our board or maybe, folks be involved with trying to get certain people in certain positions. Perception is reality. We know the board only hires a superintendent and treasurer, but they have influence. That's a fact. And there's been a lot of influence over the years, or lack thereof. There might be the refusal to speak up at meetings, the refusal to have those conversations. Again, that's where the accountability comes into play. So it becomes simple, Mark. It's those three things. We need to change that culture. We need to change the conversation. We need to hold folks accountable to fairness and truth. And we need to pull the curtain back for transparency and allow our meetings to be live streamed so folks can know really what's going on. Because if your kid's in a sport, has a practice, you work, it might be hard to get out there that last Tuesday of the month for a board meeting.
That's true. That's true. And as we've experienced for years, there are far more views on the replay than there is on the actual live. By a factor of like 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, it's just immense on the replays. And so once those videos are in the public archive or the public domain, then it becomes searchable, and people could go back and say, well, wait a minute, you said this in this meeting, and hold your feet to the fire, sometimes on issues, or did that person really say that, and be able to go back and review exactly what was said, because otherwise you've got 35 people in the room and you say like reality is perception is reality. So you've got 35 people in the room. That means you've got 35 realities leaving the meeting. And so the camera doesn't lie. And so it puts it out there for everybody to see. And the equipment to do that's very expensive. But SCDN could be your go-to for your meetings. Hey, think about that. Let me know, huh? Yeah.
Well, and there's lots of platforms. I mean, there's lots of opportunity out there, right? And SCDN. I mean, we even have something called Mohawk Media already in place.
Yes, you do. Yes.
As a matter of fact. So, I mean, there are things in place, and 35 people is probably a stretch mark of how many folks come to a Northwest board meeting. It's a stretch. You might be doubling. And so when you hear the public, and I've spoken to a lot of people over the last month and a half, that they'll say things, and again, it may not be the truth. It may be something that they've heard through the grapevine. If your board meetings on Facebook, if you have your own Northwest School Board Facebook page and you post your meetings, then they can review those. They can see. They can say, oh, okay, that was just a game of telephone. But we haven't pushed for that because we haven't wanted our board meetings, our open sessions to be recorded. And that's a problem. That's very much a lack of transparency. And that's one of my biggest initiatives. I want board meetings to be recorded, live streamed, recorded. We're going to take steps forward in that direction if I'm elected.
It's transparency, and you mentioned a little bit before about a good old boys club or nepotism. How do you think that Tommy Crabtree can change that perception and not kind of replicate it or you know uh, push that forward? What does Tommy Crabtree do to affect nepotism and the good old boys club?
Well, I mean, it's all about asking questions. It all ties together. When your meetings are live streamed, something comes up, you ask a question. You know, I'm not saying that sometimes the best candidate might not be someone that's ultimately a family member. If that's the case, people need to abstain from being involved in those conversations. Those sort of things. You can't sit as a board of 5 and not ask questions, not be super involved and wondering why this is the case. And again, that's part of the process. I think that being able to show your why, and we talk about that in my professional environment all the time. What is your why? If you can explain your why and you can do it intelligently, then you have nothing, no problem. You can lay your head down on your pillow at night. So for me, Tommy Crabtree, I will certainly be able to explain my why through the live stream. People will see the conversations. They can come to the meeting and see the conversations. But I'm also going to be available after being elected. I'll answer questions at sporting events. I'll answer questions. My Facebook will still be available. Many of the candidates aren't even active on Facebook, hardly. They don't post. They don't have conversation. I don't know if folks can reach out to them on Facebook because it doesn't seem like it. So, you need to be able to reach out to your officials. Again, we're an arm. We're put in by the voters of the district and community. We're their voice. If your voice isn't working, then how's it going to work for you?
That's a really good point. I wanted to expound on something that you said. So you say that there are some people that are on the board that don't have any kind of way to talk to the constituents because I say that because you've heard and you the viewer have heard us say for years now that true government, forget the president and the Congress and some of this stuff. True government starts in your school and in your township with your ambulance and your potholes and your cemeteries. That is the very beginning and what I would call rather the roots of true government.
Yep.
And so I'm a huge proponent where every vote counts. Tommy, there have been times where decisions have made by one vote, and it's in situations like the school board or a levy proposed by a township. It literally comes down to one vote. And when we're doing election night, I always call them squeakers. Oh, folks, we've got a squeaker here because the issue separated by 5 votes, and then when it all pans out, it's even less than that sometimes. So community involvement is very important, wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, the fact is, if you can't have a conversation with your board, if your board's not involved in events, food pantry is a great example. I want to give a shout out to the Northwest Food Pantry. I went and visited that last week. The folks that run the pantry, they had made a post on Facebook and said, "Hey, we'd like to invite out the candidates for Northwest School Board or, folks that are on the board to come out and visit our pantry." I went out and I showed up and I had a conversation with them. And it was just nice to see, but they had talked about, this food pantry has been here 11 years and we provide to only a few families in the district when we know there's way more folks in the district that could actually benefit from this food pantry. And it's sad that hasn't been a focus. It's something that, maybe if there were more conversations, because, a lot of people have a lot of issues with social media, and I understand that. But that's where we're at as a society. Communication, understand your district, your constituents, understand the community, and be able to get on there and have those conversations. Because the times of going to the football game and talking to everybody, that's just a very small few folks, right? There's a lot of other folks out there that some people don't even go to any of events, but they have a say too. They're just as important as the person at the football game or the coach or the principal or whoever. They're just as important as everybody else, and they should all be treated that same way.
Yes, because when a person is elected, and I think a lot of elected officials forget this, but you are elected to serve the people that voted for you and the people that did not vote for you. So
Yes.
you serve everybody. How do you feel about that, and knowing that your job with the curriculum and children's kids and the budgets? Oh my goodness, the budgets. Um, it's going to affect the entirety of the community, whether they voted at all or not. So, how do you reconcile or interpret in your mind that if elected, you are in service to every single man, woman, and child in the Northwest School District?
Well, there's roughly 5,700 registered voters. Not that I looked in the Northwest School District. Uh, so I know there's way more people that aren't. And I know we're not going to have 100% turnout in this election. You are there. And secondly, second point to that, you don't know who voted for you, who didn't, So there's a fairness factor that you should treat everybody the same. It's just the old saying, what my parents taught me, treat everybody the same. What I teach people at my job, in my professional environment, you treat the aide and the maintenance person the same as you treat the CEO. It doesn't matter. That's how you treat people. So when it comes to that, if somebody would contact me on Facebook after I'm elected and they say, this is my issue, I'm not going to say, did you vote for me? I'm not going to say, are you a registered voter? I'm not going to say, does your child play football? Or, did you donate to this? I'm going to say, how can we work on this to fix it together? And that's the kind of conversations that should be had. It shouldn't be, again, a club or putting a certain person in a certain spot. It should be, how can we fix this for the betterment of the children first, the staff second, the community and district as a whole.
You mentioned there the word fairness. So I wanted to ask, what does the term fairness in leadership mean to you?
Sure. So fairness and leadership is exactly kind of what I just said. It's treating people equally. It's showing that you can lead from the front, and you can also treat someone that's like, whether it's a janitor or a bus driver or a maintenance person or the superintendent, the same. You can have those same conversations. A conversation you're going to have with one person, you would have with the same person. Goes back to transparency, doesn't it? Goes back to those same conversations. It all ties together. And that's what it means to me. A leader is someone who listens and acts and is willing to have those tough conversations. Have a conversation at all. And that's what I think leadership and fairness entail.
When you were listing off those different roles within the school, you forgot the lunch lady, Tommy. You can't
Hey,
forget about the lunch lady. Come on.
just as important. I always loved school pizzas. We still get some from here's a shout out. But games in Lucasville would have those those school pizzas. Man, those are good. Once in a while, you just get craving for those things. That's what I would have in school. Yeah, the lunch lady, important role. Everybody's an important role when it comes to making sure our children are not only in an environment that helps develop them into being great adults, but that's safe. It's a safe environment too, which is another important piece of this whole thing.
Nicely done. Shout out to the lunch lady. And of course, they operate under clinical dietitians that make sure that the lunches and breakfast program. That's another one we should talk about. When you talk about the food pantry, the breakfast program, so huge in our community because it's not just Northwest; it's countywide. That what kids eat at school is probably all they're going to eat the entire day. And so I'm not looking. That's not a question. I'm just
No,
kind
but
of
I
adding
do want
on.
to make a point on that though. That was one of the
Yeah.
conversations we had at the pantry. We said, you need to have conversations. Funny, you said with the lunch ladies, but I said we need to have conversations with our cafeteria workers and our teachers to know, because they'll have an understanding which children are going home to an empty house or going home to an empty cupboard, and we need to be bagging up food with pop tops and send that home in their backpacks so they can go home and hopefully have a microwave. If not, they can still be eating something, um, and we're at least trying. And that was a really strong conversation I had with those folks at the food pantry because I think that's an important part of it. We're getting some funding here. I think we need to make sure that we're providing for the children and families that we know need that.
I was muted. Can you believe that? My wife would be like, "Yay, he finally got muted." Anyway, I was muted. So it's time now to transition to the third and final phase of our conversation with Tommy Crabtree, and the subject matter is antics. Oh my, oh my.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yes, the struggles of a good campaign. I gave it a subtitle. So, antics, the struggle of a good campaign. So, Tommy, I'm going to ask, what kind of antics are you seeing by current board members or your opponents in this race?
I don't know who necessarily. I do have, people who know me are going to see this clip and say, yeah, we've heard it. But, I've had a lot of my signs disappear. I think we're over the 30 mark at this point. Signs have disappeared that have been replaced and disappeared again. So I kind of giggle in a sense because it is what it is. I think that it's
Didn't
interesting.
somebody, I don't mean to interrupt, but didn't somebody burn one of your signs?
Yeah, that was
Didn't
going to be
they
my
burn
next
it?
point. It's actually sitting here in my office as we speak. I look at it every day, but it was melted down because they're plastic, right? So they don't catch on fire like cardboard, which I think was probably the thought on it. And it's laughable. It's fine. Signs don't make a campaign, and I think that signs are nice. I have plenty of them out there. People have saw it, but having real conversations, I think, is what truly makes a campaign. And those disappearing, yeah, it stinks because they do cost money, but I think it shows a little bit of immaturity from certain folks because other signs that were close to mine, they weren't touched. They were left, and mine were gone, and the pole's still there. And it shows that our point's getting out there. The idea of change and transparency. We can't be afraid of change. We can't be afraid of telling the truth and, pulling the curtain back and opening the door for folks to see what's going on, because it's okay. They deserve to know, and it's okay. So we don't have to remove signs for that. And that's kind of been the biggest antic.
You know, just for you, Tommy, the with your sign being burned, let's look back a bit in history. The Beatles had their records burned. How did the history remember them? Elvis Presley had his records burned. How did history look back on him? So you're in you're in good company, my friend. What do you
Well,
think?
I can't sing at all. So I'll say, as far as that comparison goes, but I would like to think that we're making a difference. I would like to think that we're making an over. Uh, I want to say this: no matter what happens on election night, no matter the final results, if I can lay my head on my pillow at night, and you heard me say that earlier, that's an important thing, and say we made a difference. We opened the door to transparency, live streaming, then it was a successful campaign. And that's what's important.
Before I get to my final question, I want to go back to something you said about needing to know and being prepared to answer the why. Um, and I want to add to that that it's when you're showing true leadership, and you have a team spread out doing multiple functions. Knowing the why is first, but knowing the next why and the next why. If you think of it as, a toddler asking a simple question, and then you give that, and then they go why, and so you try again, and they say why, and then you're like, oh my gosh, because and ends up after about 4 or 5 whys, they, yeah, because I told you so, you know. So we have to think, we have to think 3 or 4 steps ahead, because that
Yes.
will shape your original why. Because if the next why, if somebody's being a toddler and says, well, what? Well, okay, I believe this. Well, why? Well, because of this situation. Yeah. Well, why is that relevant? Oh, well, because and so being able to know that why several levels deep, to me, is a sign of a effective leader. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I was going to say, if you don't mind for me to add on that, 100%. And being a strategic leader, strategy is an important part. You said what I say often: thinking 3 steps ahead, being, able to kind of predict the next question or the next thought or the next process is so important. But not only just predicting the why, but also being humble enough to admit sometimes when you don't know the answer. If you don't know the why, be willing enough, be humble enough, and be willing to say, I'll find that answer for you, or let's work at it together. That's also a sign of an emotionally intelligent leader, a leader who's willing to say, I don't know everything, let's work at it together. And I think that that's important as a leader as well.
I am looking at the time, Tommy, and we are right on time. This never happens, but we are about to the minute where I expected this interview to go. So, I don't know, maybe kismet. I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting. My final question: has a town hall been planned?
Well, Mark, as a matter of fact, we've been working on that. I've challenged all my opponents to a town hall. I think that this is an important part of the campaign. I think that a town hall Q&A um, at the school or at a location with somebody asking that's a neutral person asking questions for the district, for the public to come out and ask, that's live streamed, by the way, would be very important, because I think the voters and the folks, even that don't vote, have a right to come out and hear what your board members or potential future board members have to say. If you don't, then it's kind of voting blindly. And that's such a terrible idea. I think that you can hear questions. You don't even have to be the one asking questions. You can sit back and watch it on a live stream. You can be there in person, shake hands, have conversations, and then learn a little bit about the candidates. A meet the candidate night, a town hall Q&A, whatever you want to describe it as, is so important in any local campaign. So I challenge again tonight all of my opponents to a town hall. If you don't want to do it, I don't know what to say. I understand that you don't want to answer questions maybe, but if you do want to do it, let's do it. Let's have it. Let's have a good time. Let's have a conversation, and let's show the community that not only can we all work together and have that conversation, but we can answer the tough questions or any questions that they have for us. So, Mark, has it been scheduled? No. Would I love to work with the folks to schedule it? 110%. Any night, any day, anytime, let's do this.
Any night, any day, any time, let's do this. That's interesting. That's I'll meet you at the rooster's crow of dawn, and we'll have this this town hall, and then you hear the old Clint Eastwood. Woo! I'll probably get a copyright strike. Well, I didn't do it very well, but
Maybe a chicken
wah,
hat,
wah,
a
wah,
chicken
wah.
hat or something. Yeah.
Yeah, the chicken hat. Yeah. Listen, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And as a courtesy, I always allow the candidate to talk about any final thoughts, anything that they have thought about during our conversation, or maybe a question I haven't thought to ask that's important for you to get out. So we go to the very last thing, and that is Tommy's final thoughts.
Well, this year you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to change the board. It's finally time to take a look at how we can move some important decisions forward. Not everything is wrong. That's certainly true. But how do you know that? How have you learned as someone in the district? Have you been able to see meetings? Have you been able to have all of those conversations? There are a lot of things that we can work on together. And if you vote for me, I'm going to work day in and day out to make sure we continue to put Northwest in the right direction, that we work on things that need to be worked on, that we work on eliminating the issues of nepotism, that we start making sure we hold folks accountable to the things that they do. We don't sweep things under the rug, that we have those tough conversations, that we make sure hiring practices are following the correct, proper process. That's an important one. And that we continue to open the door for you, the community, to see that we're working at this together to get the best possible education for our children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, or any child that you care dearly and deeply about that goes to the Northwest School District. I humbly ask that you vote for me. Early voting starts October 7th, and it ends November 4th, Election Day. Let's do this. We can do this together. Thank you.
Well, that was very was very well done. So we are going to end here. Tommy, I'm going to drop you off the camera, but I'm asking you to stick around just for a second for a little post-interview chat. So are you able to do that for stick around for another couple minutes?
Sure thing, Mark.
Okay, fantastic. So Tommy Crabtree for Northwest School Board, get out and vote, and more importantly, well, also equally importantly, I should say, get out and engage.
Yes.
Engage. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, folks, you have heard from the candidate for Northwest Schools, Tommy Crabtree. To give a quick summary, there are 3 seats open in that district, and there are 7 candidates running. Tommy said that in different precincts, his name may appear in different places on the ballot. And I suppose that's true with the other candidates. I can't imagine that it would not be. And he also mentioned about some very important things about transparency and having the school board meetings live streamed. And he also brought up the media department at Northwest. They actually do have a fantastic multimedia department, and I think it would be just a wonderful thing for them to be involved in making sure that those live streams go out, and even have a reporter think about this conceptually. Not just Northwest, all of you with multimedia. Portsmouth has multimedia. I don't know who all does. If you do, let me know because I want to check it out. Um, but even have not just a cameraman there, but a reporter that can ask questions and take statements. Um, During the question period that most open meetings have, and then also afterwards, reactions and stuff, and the whole, like you see walking down the hall, holding the microphone, getting a quote. Man, that would be awesome for those kids. As many of you know, we deal with Wings of Hope, and we have a young broadcasters program that we have supported now. This is our third year of teaching folks in junior high and high school how to become broadcasters, both in front of the camera, but there is so many more jobs behind the camera. So we're teaching them those technical skills to be able to find work. Those that are interested to be able to find work in those industries because it's such a fine-tuned skill that one must have that there's not really a class for it unless you go, spend $50,000 on a college education in that, and only snippets of classes have to do with editing and production and sound and lighting. It's more on journalistic integrity and not the back end, the roadie, if it was a band analogy. So we thank everybody for watching our interview with candidate Tommy Crabtree for the Northwest School Board. And as we always say at the end, SCDN, the People's News, is number one for a reason. And that reason is you. And I said all that and didn't have my outro ready. Oh, here we go. I'll say it again. We're number one for a reason. And that reason is you. Thank you.